Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Unfiltered Vet Discussion. My name is Kelly, and today I'm being joined by Phil and David and Jenny. You can certainly learn more about us at unfilteredvetdiscussions.com. Also, we're on various social medias, YouTube, and podcast listening channels. So please join in wherever it's convenient for you. We'd love to have you be a listener. We'd also love to hear your comments. So please drop us a little note here and there. We do read everything, so send them our way. And with that, today our topic is, how do you do it all? Because we were just kind of talking about that. Jenny and I were starting about it because people sometimes look at us and go, well, like me, Kelly, you run a business, you're a single solo mom because, my daughter's dad is deceased. I garden just to get my fingers off the keyboard. I take care of my mom's older, I have an older generation that I'm keeping care of. I do a lot of things. Those are just kind of the top things right now. And when school starts up, I've got all the school layering of events and things that go with that. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. So how do we do that, right? And Jenny, you kind of had a point and I was nodding along. So you tell us about how do you do that? Oops, your voice is muffled.
Sorry, I was muted.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Clearly not well.
By unmuting.
By unmuting the button.
Minor issues. No, I get this a lot. That how do you do it all? Same thing, mom, and run a business, involved in community organizations. I also have a garden, but we don't need to talk about it. Because I'm definitely not a plant person, but I work out using it used to be Beachbody, now it's called Body. And one of the trainers on there is Autumn Calories. And she once said, because she gets asked this all the time, and she once said that when you juggle, all of the balls are not up in the air at the same time. So when she has a big work project, her home life does suffer a little bit. And then once she's done with that work project, she puts a lot more emphasis into her home life. And maybe her work isn't, the number one priority. So it's less, we always say work-life balance. We always act like it's going to be this straight and narrow, easy, okay, here's work done, boundary, here's, home, and it's not necessarily that. Sometimes during our busier months, we do large animal too. So, come April, May, June, vaccines, breeding horses, we're out a lot later. We work a lot harder. In the winter months, maybe not so much. And maybe we have time to go outside and make a snowman, and it's just that whole idea of work-life balance being equal, I think is what really messes with people's heads. I think it really kind of sets you up for this idea that it's impossible, so I can't even try. And it's not that way. I'm leaving work early today so that I can go see Green Day with my oldest child at Fenway. Okay. So, that's what I'm doing. So today, thank you. Today, work takes, life is maybe my home life is a little bit more than my work life. And that's okay. And then next week we're on vacation. So that'll be no work if I can help it. I said, don't call me unless the server is on fire. Like, I don't want to know. But then when I get back, you bet that week before school starts, I'm going to be focused solely on work, trying to get caught up, make sure everything's all good, put out whatever fires came up while I was gone. But are they in balance during that time? What is balance? And so I think that, and, we've talked about the fact that social media kind of, you see everybody's highlight reels, you see all the great things, and you see all these people juggling all these things with no problem. And I call bullshit. That's not legitimate. That is not real. And everybody has the same issues. So how do you overcome that? But it's just it's not a matter of how do you do it, or, oh, you're so lucky, you have all this. It's hard work, but it's work that you have to put into it and understand that sometimes you're going to fail, and sometimes everything's not going to be in balance, and that's okay.
Yeah, the one thing kind of give thought to, I'm trying to self-correct and not say it's life work. Put what's more important first. Not work-life balance, life-work balance. But it's not a balance, like you said. I agree. And it's also, sometimes you do it because you have to. It's not an option. I signed up for this. I have to find a way to make it work. And in this moment, I'm focusing right here. Next moment, I'm going to be focusing on that, and it just being 100% into what I'm doing at that point, whether it's a particular client engagement or doing something with the boys or Susan or doing disc golf. I'm doing 100% in that moment. But and it's not easy because you still have to be aware of everything else that I'm not doing. Fortunately, I'm not good at sitting down and doing nothing. But the thought of retirement and just like sitting on the porch chair all afternoon, rocking back and forth, that is not appealing. And Susan said, "Well, when you retire, what are you going to do?" It's like, well, probably get a job.
Play disc golf.
Work at Lowe's.
Get a regular
and
job.
Disc
Right.
golf. Yeah.
Right.
Help people in Lowe's or Home Depot, product specific, and then golf. But sitting around is not something that works well for me.
None of us. I
They are
think.
juggling. The balls are in the air. One's in the hand.
Yeah.
It's a great analogy.
Phil, what about you?
Well, I just said, expectation, and Jenny had said, well, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this. And it's like that fallacy of control, as well. And, and again, like David
Well
said,
said.
like stuff is going to come out of left field. And we're going to have to, we got a friends level pivot, you
Pivot.
just gotta, you gotta pivot. And it's just, there's some different, from, in the recovery community. And then there's this type of therapy that's called DBT, dialectic behavioral therapy. Two things can be, the same at this is two things can occupy space at the same time, is radical acceptance. And that I will say, as far as work-life balance, like, or whatever term, balance, I think too, is, we can get worked up in what we're going to call it as well, but radical acceptance of, okay, like, it doesn't mean that I have to like it, but like in this moment, I gotta take care of this thing. And for me, yes, I'm gonna have, a little inner bitch fit. And then I'm going to be like, okay, all right, I got to get this done. That's it. I complaining about it's not gonna help it get done. And then do it. But it's not, but the thing is if, if somebody else sees that, they don't see the internal like thing in my head. They may see the end result of me doing it and then be like, how do you do that? And I'm like, well, I didn't do it like the Dalai Lama, that's for sure, like I did it. But it's also, that too is like judging the manner in which, we, the ends justify the means, or, what have you. But that's
super
always
well
been,
said.
yeah.
I got chills thinking it because I've never had that awareness. But you're spot on. They see the outside and don't see the inside. And that happens. I got chills thinking about that because it's like, you're right. I did do from this and but it's all in here.
Yeah.
It's not expressed, and everybody just sees the end result.
Yeah. And I don't know. And guess what? That doesn't make it on social media.
No,
it doesn't film well, does it? No.
And there, and again, we, then we judge, but that radical acceptance, this concept of radical acceptance, or just acceptance in general, was one of the best things that's helped me in my journey, is that if I can accept the situation as it is, And then the thing was, is that I didn't learn till like 2 or 3 years into recovery that acceptance didn't mean that I had to like it. So that I could, not to try to change make other people around me feel uncomfortable, but yeah, I can go, God, all right, okay, all right, okay, let's go. Let's get it done. And so yeah, go ahead.
You saying that brought up a very acute memory for me for last summer.
Mhm.
So I have a sump pump, and it's because I'm on wetland, and I have a thing about putting my limbs in places where I can't see the bottom, feet or hands, right? So the power goes off. The backup battery is not working on the sump pump. I'm in the dark in my bathroom at 10 o'clock at night, trying to fix the goddamn sump pump with extra hard language after that, right?
Yeah.
Lying in my belly, wedged between a wall, the sump pump and my geothermal unit, which is like, 18 inches, with my hand in the dark in the water, trying to figure out how to fix this thing, which I did. I MacGyvered it with literally.
I was gonna say, well,
I did rubber bands and paper clips to fix it. Literally did. And
glorious.
but Phil, I sat there for a moment in a white fluffy bathrobe with a flashlight, rubber band to the thing, trying, may have been crying because I'm the only adult in the house in a storm, thinking I don't have time to call a plumber before my basement floods.
Yeah.
So what do? You throw that internal hissy fit, and then I womaned up. And talk about immersion therapy for your greatest fears. That was like,
yeah, right.
Like emerging my hand. I mean, I had to laugh at myself at that, right? Because I'm like,
yeah,
wow, that really was a thing in my psychology classes there. But nobody sees that, like you said. It's not on social media. But the difference between the plate spinning and how I do it and now I don't, is you throw that internal hissy fit. You have your moment. You sit down and cry if you need to, which I'm going to own I have. And then you get back up, dust your bottom off, and give it a go.
Yeah. You do it.
And
right?
I would say the thing is, though, is that if I'm in that situation multiple times over and over, there's a difference between that grit and then stupid grit, is like, and that gets to be some of the things we talked about in our last episode, is like, if I'm working every day, 17 hours a day, I'll do it a couple times, but does this need to, then getting curious, like, am I just, beating my head against the wall, and is there a better way, to do this? And I think that's the the difference that we get in, where we're not telling anybody to, endure things over and over that don't necessarily need to be endured. But I love that term. There's this great concept called grit, that Angela Duckworth, came up with from University of Pennsylvania. But that stupid grit isn't helpful, is that if I just keep banging my head against this thing and it's not going the way that I want, that I'm unable to step back and say, like, if my, not saying, but if my sump pump goes out, 6 times, and I'm in, and then I'm doing the same, it's like, damn it, man, I don't want to do this again.
Time to buy a new
sump pump. To do it again. And I'll say one last thing, though, is that the fear of the unknown, the fear of the thing that may happen. It just reminded me, when we were talking about some stuff before, one of my best friends, he owns a hair salon, and he got the hair salon. He'd been in his location for a year, about, a decade. And seemingly out of nowhere, then the landlord was like, hey, we're not renewing your lease. You have 2 months to, up and get out. And there was nowhere around. It was like during COVID, and he called me emotional. And this is a guy, generally speaking, as a guy that doesn't cry a lot. And I was like, my brother, I said, I get where you're at. I said, the thing is, I said, knowing you is what you're not looking at is what your response is going to be to this situation. Is that I also know that, while the fear of the unknown is there, you're not taking into consideration how you are going to respond to it. And my having seen you over the past 10 years is that you are going to figure out a solution to this. And some of it, I helped him move in and he got a new place. And, but I think that's the other thing too, is not giving the fear of the unknown is overwhelming and paralyzing, but that we don't give ourselves enough credit of how we're going to potentially respond to it. And not talking about certain things like that, I guess. I might have squirreled a little bit there, Kelly, but
No,
it was something that was on my
Squirrel,
mind
we
when we were first
squirrel.
talking.
We always go
Yeah,
like this.
We always do.
Well, to the one of the point to one of the points that you made though, Phil, one of the most important things that I learned and how to do all of this is to say no.
Mhm.
Like I allow myself now, like I have had to say, okay, I'm very involved in my church. I will only do one thing in my church at a time.
Yeah.
So sometimes I sing in the choir. Right now, I am not singing in the choir. Right now, I am part of a committee. And when I was a deacon for a while. When I was a deacon, I wouldn't do all of these other things. Like I'm not going to make it so that I am at my church 7 nights a week, missing out on every family dinner because I feel obligated, right? Nope, that's my rule. I will do one thing for my church. I will do one thing for my town. So when my kids were in preschool, I was their bookkeeper and I helped with their numbers and all that. I did that for 8 years. And during that time, I was asked to join other committees in town. I said, no, this is my thing right now. Once that preschool dissolved, or my position at preschool, I was no longer the bookkeeper. My kids were all out. Then I said, okay, I will take on another committee. But I'm not on all of these different committees and all of these different things and doing all of these things for work and, on the PTO and no. And I will straight up say, no, I already have other obligations. And I think that's part of the overwhelming, how do you do all this? Is we overwhelm ourselves because we feel obligated to not say no. We have to help. I think people in the veterinary industry are very caring, empathetic, helpful, right? We just want to help everybody. You can't help everybody. So sometimes we have to set our own personal boundaries so that we aren't crying in a corner, curled up in a ball, and we're not so overwhelmed and we can get things done. So instead of juggling 10 balls, I'm only juggling 3, 4, maybe 5. Yep. But,
7.
it's less than 10. And I'm not a good juggler. But, it's this whole idea of not overwhelming ourselves because we feel obligated. You are okay to say no. Now, I'm not saying don't say no to everything and become a hermit, and not try, because we just said it, right? Just do it, like Nike's logo, just do it. Sometimes you have to overcome your fear and just do it. But we talk about balance all the time. There's a balance between hiding and overdoing it.
Yep. And realizing as the veterinary professional, this is something that I had, is that there are other people that care, that are out there, and it doesn't have to always be.
Yeah, it doesn't have
it
to
always
be
has
you
to,
every
it
time.
Always has, and if it doesn't always have to be me, what is it in me that makes me think that it has to be me? And then be curious,
right.
Not, self-awareness. What, wow, damn it, it always comes back to self-awareness, doesn't it?
Just be self-aware. Mic drop, right?
Yeah. And you
See a
can't
theme.
walk away from self.
Yeah, right.
The t-shirt that just says, just be self-aware.
Yeah, well said.
Well said.
Yep.
Well, this has been a good conversation today from everything from saying no to just do it to some pumps.
And the inner conversation that nobody else gets to see, and why we get so much done.
Yeah. And Phil, you can replicate that anytime because you do a really good inner snit. Yeah.
I just picture I picture a cartoon bubble over your head with like all the little
right.
symbols.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not always in my head, and sometimes the techs make fun of me when I string to get, like, they try to see, like, when I'm doing a dental and like a tooth breaks, like how many things I can string together into one one swear word.
It's like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Yeah.
Nice work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I have to exhale and go, oh, I'm sorry. And they're dying laughing. They're like, oh, I think you broke the record on that one.
Start recording it just to see.
Yeah, right.
For
Aren't you the
posterity.
well-being guy? Like,
Right.
yes, I am.
You mean you're not perfect? What? Shocking. So there you go. How do we all do it? We're not perfect. That's the
Yeah.
key message.
That's the
That's your
secret.
takeaway today.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everybody. It will catch you later on Unfiltered Vet Discussions.
There it is.